Hey everybody, welcome back to another video on the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the brand new AMD Ryzen 3950X. So this is another AMD Ryzen chip that was actually announced at E3 of this year. And this is really exciting because this is the second Ryzen 9 chip. And this one is absolutely killer. So this one, the 3950X, is kind of a beefed up version of the other Ryzen 9 chip, the 3900X. But the 3900X has 12 cores, 24 threads. Well, this one, the 3950X, has 16 cores, 32 threads. So that is absolutely insane. And it's a 16-core, 32-thread chip, which is absolutely insane. Once again, just like all of the Zen 2 CPUs, it is a 7nm FinFET chip produced by TSMC. It has a base clock of 3.5 gigahertz and has a maximum boost clock of 4.7 gigahertz. So that is insane. As of now, we don't 100% know if that's 4.7 on all 16 cores. I'm assuming that's probably the first one or two cores can boost up to 4.7. The rest of them might be down to like 4.5 or something like that. But it's kind of interesting that the 3950X has the highest boost frequency of the Zen 2 Ryzen 3000 series lineup. So not even like a 6-core 12-thread chip, not even like the 3600X, that's highest boost frequency is 4.4. Then we have a 16-core that has a boost frequency of 4.7, so that is higher than any of these other ones. But obviously all these chips are going to be overclockable, so obviously you're probably going to be able to get better performance and better overclocks out of something like a 3900X, a 12-core CPU compared to a 16-core CPU, and probably even better on like an 8-core or a 6-core, just because there's less like actual like physical cores on it to generate heat. And speaking of heat, let's talk about the TDP for this chip. So it is a 105 watt TDP chip, so that is absolutely insane. And basically, just to put this all in perspective, this chip, the 3950X, is competing against Intel's like high-end like lineup. Like there's even been talk that this is actually going to be competing against the 9980XE. That is an 18-core 36-thread CPU from Intel, and that thing doesn't even like compare to this. There's been lots of benchmarks and stuff that just shows the 3950X even crushing it, even though it has 2 less cores, 4 less threads. But it can obviously, like, it has higher frequencies, and it's also based off of the 7nm, has more cache, and has a much lower TDP. Like, this is the thing about these like Ryzen 3000 chips, is that their TDP is way lower. And another thing about TDP is that you can't compare between Intel and AMD on this, because Intel has a really screwed up system of determining TDP. And like they say that the 9900K, I think, is a 95 watt TDP chip is what Intel advertises it at. But you cannot have 95 watts TDP on that chip when you get more than like 1 core overclocked or anything like that. Like that thing, like 95 watts TDP is like way low, and as soon as you do anything to it, as soon as it gets overclocked or even like boosts up, it is going to absolutely destroy that 95 watt TDP. And obviously Intel's just putting it there to market it as, it's a low power chip, it's not sucking up all this juice, when in reality, if you want to overclock it or you want to do anything with it, since it's the 9900K, you actually have to pump in more juice to it. Well, these chips are 105 watts, so only 10 more watts than say like a 9900K. But I mean, obviously, if you're going to overclock the 3950X up to 5 gigahertz on all cores, all 16 cores, it's going to suck more than 105 watts from the chip. But it should be a really good chip. There's been a lot of reports that for this whole Ryzen 3000 series, you're going to be able to overclock at least to like 4.6, 4.7 on every core. And I'm not 100% sure if they're even referring to the 3950X, but they're at least referring to the 3900X, which is the 12 core. So 4.6, 4.7 or whatever, on all those cores is going to be absolutely insane. And I mean, even at 4.7 on all 16 cores is going to absolutely destroy anything that Intel has. And the best part about this is the price. The 3950X only costs $750. Now, to put that in perspective, Intel's nearest competitor to this, a $2,000 chip. That is absolutely crazy. So for almost a third of the price, you're getting better performance and lower power consumption, and it costs way less. Like, that is absolutely crazy. So for the cache setup for this, the L2 cache on the 3950X, you get 8 megabytes of L2 cache and 64 megabytes of L3 cache. So it has a pretty similar cache setup to the 3900X, because the 3900X has 6 megabytes of L2 cache, so you get an extra 2 megabytes over the 3900X. But then again, you get so much cache with this chip that it's absolutely insane. Once again, it also has DDR4, and it also has, comes with PCIe 4.0. It has the same amount of lane setup, so you have 16 plus 4 plus 4 for the lane setup. So a lot of people are thinking that in order to get more PCIe lanes, you're gonna have to upgrade to the Threadripper, which is gonna be coming out later this year, which, I mean, it makes sense. But then again, with PCIe 4.0, each lane has double the bandwidth of PCIe 3.0, so it shouldn't be that big of a problem anymore. But who knows, it still could be. But this chip is absolutely insane. So $749, it's going to be in an X570 board. There's been talk that you might be able to run it in like an X470 or something like that, but basically, if you want to have like the best overclocking, the best VRMs, and the best motherboard setup for this chip, go ahead, get yourself an X570 motherboard for this, and it's going to do amazing. So just to recap real quick, the 3950X is a 16-core, 32-thread CPU running base frequency on all cores is 3.5 gigahertz and boost frequency is 4.7, has 8 megabytes of L2 cache and 64 megabytes of L3 cache, has PCIe 4.0, 16 plus 4 plus 4, also has DDR4. We don't know the exact timings about that. That's probably going to be, closer to the actual launch of this thing. It's going to have a TDP of 105 watts, cost $749, and for the release date, it is going to be coming out in September of this year. So it's going to be about 2 months later than the rest of the Ryzen 3000 series lineup. I mean, all those come out on July 7th. But this one, the 3950X, is going to come out 2 months later in September. And, dude, I honestly can't wait for this. Like, this is going to be crazy. And I'm personally going to get one of these. Like, this is going to be the chip that I'm going to get. So I want, faster video encodes and renders and higher streaming and stuff like that, like higher stream quality. And this chip is absolutely going to destroy all of that. So AMD at E3, just a little side note here, AMD ran a demo of OBS running on like 10,000 kilobytes a second, so 10 megabits a second on slow at 1080p, like 60 FPS. And the 3900X delivered something like 98.6% of frames to the viewer, whereas they compared it against the 9900K because that's what they're priced against, $500 versus like $500. And the 9900K only delivered like 2% of frames. So it was absolutely crazy. People have talked about this. I might make a separate video talking about like AMD's testing methodology here, because people are saying, oh, nobody's ever going to run OBS on slow. But I mean, if you have the horsepower, if you can run OBS on slow and deliver like 98% of frames, that's really good. And compared to like the 9900K, which could do like, what, 4% or something like that is an absolutely huge jump. But that also begs the question, that was on the 3900X. What about the 3950X? This thing has an extra 4 cores, 8 threads, and potentially is about clocked around the same, depending on overclocks and stuff like that. And it has a little bit more cache. Should be able to run OBS, 10 megabytes a second, slow, and deliver 100% of frames, and probably still have, like some headroom left over to play some games and also do some background tasks and stuff as well. So, like I said, this is going to be the chip that I'm personally going to pick up, is a 3950X, and it's only $750. Like, that is a lot for a chip, and for like just, a CPU, and like for like this whole like setup is going to probably cost close to like $3,000 for a full, like good setup for this chip. But you got to compare it to Intel, like AMD is absolutely destroying Intel here. Whereas, like, just for the CPU alone, you're going to be paying like $2,000 on the Intel side just for an Intel, just for like a blue name badge on it, when you're going to be getting, worse performance, and you're going to have much higher power consumption. So that also, once again, dictates your performance, because it's not going to be able to overclock as high. And it also costs like 3 times as much, which is absolutely crazy, and even lacks, some features like PCIe 4.0. So Intel is absolutely screwed here, and I can't wait for this. So September can't come soon enough. 16 cores, 32 threads, destroys the 9980 XE in like pretty much every benchmark. and absolutely just, has set like world records and stuff. Like, this is an absolutely crazy chip, and it's really awesome to see what AMD has done here. So like I said, this is the chip that I'm gonna be picking up personally for myself, but all this stuff should translate, really well down the stack of other Ryzen 9 chips, the 3900X or even Ryzen 7 or Ryzen 5. Like, you go from a 16 core to a 12 to an 8 to a 6 core, and they all should be able to just absolutely knock Intel out of the park, especially for these prices. Like, these prices are one of the things here that absolutely is just like the icing on the cake. Like, you get awesome, like, high core counts, you get really amazing frequencies and speeds, which rivals Intel and even, potentially could beat it, has better caching setup, has PCIe 4.0, has DDR4 that traditionally AMD's, chipsets have DDR4 at higher frequencies than Intel's, so you also have that going for you. Also consumes way less power, and then the icing on the cake is just, it's way less expensive than like anything Intel has. So that is absolutely crazy, dude. And I mean, if you're gonna be going with Intel right now, dude, you're pretty much stupid. Like, this is what to get, is this new Intel AMD Ryzen 3000 series, and I personally can't wait for it. So it's gonna be interesting to see how Intel is gonna try and respond this year with their 10th generation like CPUs. My guess is they're probably going to do, their high end, their like, 9900K successor. It's probably going to be a 10 core, 20 thread CPU trying to get up to 5 gigahertz, but still, dude, I don't think it's going to be able to touch anything that Ryzen is doing, and AMD is absolutely killing it. So there you guys go. Thank you so much for watching this video. That is the news about this brand new Ryzen 9 3950X CPU that was just barely revealed at E3 of this year. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any thoughts about this, let me know in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed, give the video a thumbs up. Like, what do you guys think about this? This is absolutely crazy, and this is going to be amazing for content creators, for like people who make videos, for streamers, for like heavy multitaskers. This is going to be amazing for anything, and also it's going to be great for gaming as well. I mean, maybe you might not want to game on like a 3950X, but something like a 3800X or a 3900X, it's going to absolutely kill it in games as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.